The sign associated with this house is Pisces, because Pisces is the 12th sign in the zodiac. This segment is about the 12th house. 12th house, last house in our charts. And if you think the 8th house is misunderstood and mysterious, welcome to the 12th house. So I must be honest, I'm not necessarily a fan of the 12th house. However, as I've continued to do some research, there's some very relevant information that came from that, especially as I started to analyze people's charts and take a look at their chart, their activity in the 12th house, and how it worked out for them. If you want to see a very good example of this, I recommend listening to my episode on Tyler Perry. He has a chart that is 12th house heavy. And if you know Tyler Perry, know anything about him, you realize that may have, I believe that had a large impact on the direction of his life. From his traumas, childhood traumas, to his overall successes in the entertainment industry. So I think it's worth a good listen to give you a good idea of how the 12th house can work out for a person. But in general, the 12th house can represent troubles. It can represent what they call self-undoing, things that you do, I guess you could say, to shoot your own self in the foot, or as they say, cut your nose off to spite your face. Things that you might do that just are not good for you, up to and including things like maybe substance abuse, or in this area of the chart can represent like rehabs, mental health hospitals, things like that. I don't mean to sound dark and terrible, and I think that's one of the reasons why this is such a mysterious house. I would like to also mention that in addition to the 8th house, this house also represents secrets. But what I found is the difference between the two is 8th house tends to represent secrets that you actively keep, like you are keeping those from other people. There's something going on with you that you don't want other people to know about, and you go through great lengths to make sure people don't know about it. 12th house tends to represent secrets that are kept from you. So that this can represent secret enemies, but not necessarily. When I time things, including in my own chart, what I find is when there are transits, meaning active planets that are moving right now, when certain planets move over the 12th house, it usually represents me learning some information that was going on behind the scenes that I knew nothing about. And 12th house seems to bring that to the light. I'll give you an example. Let's say you're working for a company and they've been working on something. Maybe your department has been working on rolling out something new that they want all the employees in that department to do. They've been meeting about it for maybe a month or so. They haven't told any of you guys about it yet. And then you have a meeting, maybe last week, and then they say, well, we've been working on this thing and we think this is going to be great, and we want you guys to start doing da-da-da-da-da. Okay, so when that happens, you may find that there's some activity going on in your 12th house. It could be a transit or something like that, because it represents something that had been kept from you that you now learn about. This is the most effective use when it comes to me and what I'm doing as far as understanding the 12th house and what it means. So that's how I tend to use the 12th house. So prior to this, as I stated before, I wasn't particularly fond of the 12th house because I guess like some people, I didn't understand it. And to some extent, I still don't understand the 12th house completely. And it may be, the sign Pisces may be like that too. Some people may feel like they don't understand Pisceans that well. But just in general, the 12th house can be a sticky house. Some people say the 12th house is where you lose things. Obviously, the 11th house is right before the 12th. If you remember my previous episode, the 11th house is a active house. It's one of the money houses, and it represents gains. The 12th house is said to represent losses. That's where you lose things. And I guess one way of looking at that is where you sacrifice. You could sacrifice something here, or you give something away to people from a perspective of charity. When we give things away for charity, we're not gaining anything. We may just, have a good heart and want to help people. So a person with an active 12th house could be someone who wants to go into counseling, or, maybe they become a substance abuse counselor. Could be because of their own struggles, could be because they've known someone with these struggles and they want to assist. So it could materialize in that way. 12th house can be a creative house. It can be, and this is why I referenced Tyler Perry and listening to his episode, because you get to see how it works out for him. But the 12th house can be creative, and some people even say it's a good house for writing. There's, I think, a few good houses for writing in someone's chart, but it's different types of writing. So for the 12th house, the writing is not necessarily book-like. Writing for a book is more of a 9th house thing for the publishing industry. Writing in the 12th house would probably more reference writing scripts for the visual industry. Again, as noted in Tyler Perry's example for the episode. So that's a different type of writing. Writing for the visual is very different from writing for a book. So, and you can kind of see that, like if you've ever been someone who's read a book, you enjoyed the book, and then you learned that the book was turned into a movie. You saw the movie and you felt like, gosh, that was nothing like the book. The book was so much better. Well, the book is allowed to give more details than can be done for a script. I believe one page for a script is like a minute on screen, so they don't have all of that time to describe everything and include everything. They kind of have to make things a little more compact, so it changes the way that it presents. But the 12th house writing can represent that, the visual, writing for the visual. It's also good for music related endeavors. If you are a musical person, Pisces in general can be a good sign for that. And the 12th house can be a good sign for that. Anything related to spiritual faith, having faith or having a good intuition. Again, this is a house you want to watch when it comes to things like substance abuse, alcohol, drugs, and the street drugs, as well as pill popping. Sometimes the pills can be just as bad or worse than what someone might shoot up their arm or something like that. So also I hear this can represent living in a foreign land or someone moving away. So I guess I've seen that a little bit. Not a whole lot of instances that I've researched just yet, but I've heard that.